Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Lesson 3, Jewish Spirituality and Meditation through Prayer and Introduction. We are doing Lesson 3. If you are there, please do let me know. We'll give it a few moments for people to join us. Please comment if you are here. Okay, as we're getting ready to take on Jewish Spirituality and Meditation. I don't see anybody in the room. Oh, somebody just entered. Good morning. Welcome. Who do we have here? Marty, I think I'm here. I think therefore I am. Descartes. Cute. Great to have you here, Marty. How's the prayer course going so far? Any comments? Please let us know if you're here in the class so we can get started. I want to make sure that we know who's here before we can start. Marty, therefore I am. I think I'm here, therefore I am. Good stuff. Anybody else? Who else is in our group, in our class? Please comment or say something so we know who you are. We know where you are. It's always good to know who I'm talking to. Welcome. I'm Rabbi David Vigler of Chabad Palm Beach Gardens. If we've not met before, I am delighted to meet you here on an introduction to Jewish spirituality and meditation. This is going to be a really fun class today. Who else do we have here? Marty, I still miss being able to communicate. I agree with you, Marty. This is rough stuff. Okay. Folks, if you could just let me know that you're there, it would be nice to see. I see I've got five people. Please comment, let me know that you're there. I see we just posted onto Facebook. The message is getting out. Shalom Lubin, good. Hey, Shalom. Thank you, Marty. Is he also doing online classes? Anybody else? Who else is with us in this class? I think we might as well get started. And folks, remember, I'm talking to a computer screen, so it's very, very helpful when you comment and share your thoughts and your reflections and your questions and your comments and your whatever on in the comments bar over here. It's very, very helpful to be able to help me understand who I'm talking to and how you guys are feeling about it, because it's very difficult to just talk. You got to be able to talk to people, and knowing who's here is very, very, very helpful. And I look forward to hearing your comments and feedback through this conversation. As we do this introduction to Jewish spirituality and meditation, I just want to remind you, if you're just joining us, what the purpose of this class is. The purpose is when somebody walks into shul, if he mustered the courage to walk into a Jewish synagogue, it's not a spiritual experience. Let's face it, it's not a spiritual experience. You come in and you're just talking endlessly. You're reading stuff. It's like endless reading. And if we were able to shift our perspective, that instead of reading, we are talking, things start to shift. Oh, we're talking. Who are we talking to? Good morning, Brandon. Welcome. Good to have you with us, Brandon. So you start to realize that you're not reading stuff, you're talking to. That automatically changes the perspective, because you're like, oh, so I walked into shul and now I'm actually talking to someone. Who am I talking to? Well, that's why we need the davening to remind us who we're talking to. We're talking to God. That's the short answer. But who is God, and why do I need to be talking to God? And that's why we have this structure of prayer. Now, we explained in the last lesson, I'll do a quick refresher, that the structure of prayer is not just a lot of reading. It's a very carefully planned ladder. Just like Jacob, when he was having his famous dream in Genesis. Jacob was having his dream, and he slept on the Temple Mount. And as he slept on the Temple Mount, he envisioned a ladder from earth to heaven, from earth all the way up to heaven, with angels rising and descending. That ladder is representative of what prayer is. We start on earth and we're making our way to heaven. We start off with prayer. At the very, very beginning of prayer, we start off with an acknowledgement. We acknowledge God's presence. We say, God, we don't really understand you yet. We just woke up. We just became conscious physically and mentally, and we say, God, we just know that you exist. Modeh ani lefanecha is the opening words that we say when we wake up in the morning at the very, very beginning of the prayer book. We just say, God, I know that you're there. Thank you for restoring my soul. And we begin the morning service with hodu. The word hodu, which is the opening word of the morning service, means we thank you. We thank, or thank God. We thank God for all the wonderful things that he's done for us. And then we proceed into something called the Pesukei de Zimra, which means, Pesukei de Zimra is the songs of praise. We're giving God praise, not because God needs our praise, but not because God needs to know how great God is, but because we need to know how great God is. I hope that makes sense to you. Not because God needs to know how great God is, but because we need to know how great God is. The moment we realize that God is the only being that has any power over us, to the exclusion of all else, suddenly everything changes. Wait, like 1 second. The bank has no control over me. The United States governor, president, Senate, Congress have no power over me. Whoa, okay, now you got my attention. You're talking to the boss itself. You're talking to the CEO, founder, executive director, the owner of the company. You're talking to the owner of the company. That's what's happening over here. That's what Pesukei de Zimra does. It helps us get our focus because, you know, you can ask a question. You can say, okay, so I said it yesterday. Why do I need to say it again today? Because every day we get knocked out of whack. You know, in South Africa, there's a game called cricket. Cricket is basically baseball, but much slower. It's like baseball in slow motion. I know Americans are going to have a very hard time relating to what I'm about to say, but it's true. Cricket is a game that takes 5 days to play. Yes, it takes an entire week to play this game. We Americans we go to the baseball game. It's like, I don't know, 90 minutes, max 2 hours. You lost my attention. It's over. The game's over. We have a winner. We have a loser. Everybody's happy. We had our popcorn. We had our hot dogs and our lemonade and whatever else. And we're done. We're going home. Cricket is a game. It takes an entire week. Starts Monday morning. And you camp out 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day for 5 days before you get a winner. This is, Americans couldn't relate to such a concept. We have short attention spans. But anyways, what happens is, hi Stephanie, hi Helen and Warren, it's so nice to see you. And Carter, I'm so glad you're joining us, Carter. I'm going to connect with you a little later today. Looking forward. Chana Siegelstein, good to have you. Brandon, shalom, shalom. Great, good to see everybody here. Thank you very, very much. So, guys, pose your comments and questions. Why am I bringing up cricket? Because cricket, what they would do is, in baseball, you throw the ball, the pitcher throws the ball straight at the batter. But in cricket, you go like this. And the ball has got to bounce before it hits the batter. It's a different skill. What they do is before they bat or before they bowl, they go out to get their eye in. A batter or a bowler will go out to get his eye in before he goes on the field. I'm sure it happens in other sports. I just saw it in cricket. And the goal is, what's wrong? Didn't you have your eye in 2 hours ago? Didn't you have your eye in yesterday or last week? The answer is yes, I did, but I need to get focused here and now. You see, we go through a lot of vicissitudes in life. Changing circumstances, fear, anxiety can really shift our base. So every single day, you need to recalibrate. It's kind of like taking your car in for a service. Why do you need to take in your car in for a service? When they built my car, they put the wheels on, it's all there. Good, what's the problem? The problem is because every time you go over a traffic bump, or you hit a curb, or you go over a pothole or something, the wheels kind of like go out of whack. So every once in a while, you got to bring your car into the service, and then they realign it, and now you're good. Because, you know, if you don't realign your wheels, then you're using up more gas than you should. That's what I heard. I don't know how that works. No idea, but that's what they say. So the point is, oh, by the way, I don't like cricket, by the way. I've only seen them play. I don't like cricket, Marty, just to let you know. Anyways, so the point is that you need to calibrate your car. You need to take it in for a service. And the same thing is with your soul. Your soul and body alignment is a little out of whack every single day. Because, you know, when you get a phone call from your doctor, you're like, OMG. You look at a headline in the news, you see something that President Trump said or didn't say, or Sanders, and you see I don't know, somebody said something to you, something happened at work, and you get like a little chiropractic misalignment between your body and your soul. And that's why every single day you need to go in for a service, which is the morning service. That's what davening is about. In fact, I'm going to tell you this. The word in Hebrew, for the name of everything in Hebrew is really its essence. It tells us about its essence. So what is the name of prayer? It's the Holy Tongue. What is the Holy Tongue? The Holy Tongue is the language in which God created the world. Therefore, the name of everything expresses its essence. So what is prayer? Prayer is tefillah. You know, I don't know what prayer means in Hebrew, in English. Prayer in Hebrew, I think it comes from a certain word, I forget, which means to ask. It's like a Latin word that comes to ask for things. Prayer in Jewish philosophy, in Jewish spirituality, is not about asking God for stuff. That's not what this is about. So we've established two things. First of all, prayer, I don't even want to use that word. I want to use the word tefillah. I want to use the word davening. Davening is maybe a better word because it's like Yiddish, spiritual way of saying it. Davening is not a time of endless reading. It is a time of talking to God. But when you're talking to God, it's not a time of asking for stuff as if I'm begging for things and I'm still waiting for my order to arrive from yesterday or last week or what I asked him for on Yom Kippur. So why should I be asking again today? I don't want to be a nudnik, right? It's not about asking for stuff. Prayer is about calibrating. And indeed, the word for prayer in Hebrew, for davening, is tefillah. The word tefillah is the same word as tefillin, by the way. It comes from the word of making pottery. You know, when you make pottery, you put a piece of clay on a wheel, and as it turns around, you stick your fingers inside, and that's how you shape the clay while it's turning around the wheel. It's spinning around the wheel. And that word, hatofel klicheres, somebody who forms a clay vessel, that is the word of tefillah. Because just like when you form clay, what you're doing is that you're calibrating between the form and the matter. You're taking matter, which is regular clay, and you're making it into a beautiful form. You're turning it into a soup bowl, or into a coffee cup, or you're turning it into a beautiful, I don't know, fruit bowl. I don't know, whatever you use bowls for. You're inserting art into the matter. You're inserting form into the matter. You're calibrating between matter and form, which are out of whack. You got a clump of clay, and you're turning it into a beautiful something. Just like who was it? Motel on Fiddler on the Roof. You know, when he asked Tevye to marry his daughter, and eventually Tevye agreed, and he sings this whole song out in the woods, and he says, "From a small piece of clay, you have made a man today." A piece of clay is turned into a man, right? So what we're doing when we daven is that we are calibrating between our body, which is the clay. Remember, God created man out of clay, earth, and our soul, which is a piece of heaven and a piece of earth, and they really don't get along with each other. So in order to align the two of them, every day we have to daven, not because we're asking for stuff, but because we're calibrating our soul, just like you would do for your car's alignment. I see Brandon posted something very, very helpful. Middle English from Old French prayer, based on Latin precarious, obtained by entreaty, prayer. Okay, great. Hi, Dean. Dean's back, which basically means that I was right, that prayer means asking for stuff. And that is very non-spiritual. Who wants to be part of a religion that is all about begging? Please, 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 please. Who wants this? I've heard from so many people who have told me, Rabbi, I'm not the prayer kind of guy. I'm not a praying kind of Jew because I don't ask God for things for me. And I can even respect that. Who wants to belittle themselves, to degrade themselves, to constantly be asking for stuff? This is not spiritual. Remember, this course is an introduction to Jewish spirituality and meditation through prayer. Prayer is most often misinterpreted as non-spiritual. When Chana and I decided to become shluchim, emissaries of the Rebbe, we knew that we loved people and we love our faith, and we felt that so much of our faith is misinterpreted. It is simply falsely understood, misunderstood, and people are disenchanted. And that's what we're trying to do over here. We're trying to realign this. Folks, today I'm trying to share with you the notion that davening is tefillah, that just like you form a piece of clay spinning around the wheel, the word is tofel kli cheres, so too when you pray, when you daven, you're not asking God for stuff, you are calibrating, you are making something clay into something beautiful. You're taking your physical body and aligning it with the perception of the soul. You're taking the experience of the body and aligning it with the perception of the soul. The cognitive dissonance is stabilized every single day. And that's why you need to daven every single day. It's not enough to daven once a year or once in 10 years or once a month or even once a week, because we're dynamic beings and we change a lot every single day. We really do. We change a lot every single day. One headline, coming up on your phone can knock you out of whack. You can read something that can really upset you. Like this morning, I heard about a mentor of mine from Leeds, England, who passed away from coronavirus, and it was very upsetting to me. That can really shake your faith. This guy's a very righteous, noble, a real English gentleman. Yeah, it bothered me deeply. You know what I mean? I need to daven over that. I need to sort of get over that to be able to to find my balance again, because we're knocked off balance all the time. And if you only found your balance once a year, you'd be walking around hunchbacked. You want to walk up upright. To be able to walk upright, you've got to be able to have your body and soul serviced in the right intervals. And that's the notion of what we're doing during Psukei de Zimra, which is the second part of the daily morning service. We start off with acknowledgement. When we're spiritually unconscious, we say, God, I know you're there. I don't understand much about this because I just woke up, but I just want to acknowledge your presence. Then I want to validate your presence. Then number two, we say, we go through the verses of praise, which is the Psukei de Zimra. It's really the lion's share of prayer. And that is explaining to us the Psalms of David, which explain to us the greatness of God and God's wondrous deeds and actions in creating the world and all the details and nuances of creation. And that helps us understand who God is, because when we're able to understand who God is, what happens is that we realize that we don't have to be afraid of anybody. We don't have to be afraid of the bank manager or the politics or the weather or the coronavirus or some other virus or some other illness. We don't have to be afraid of anything. God is in control. Our allegiance is only to him, and that is something that really keeps us in check. After that, we move into we spoke about this last week in the previous lesson, we move into the blessings of Shema, which is unity and intimacy with God, very powerful, until eventually we reach the pinnacle of prayer, which is the silent Amidah. And at that point, we do actually ask God for things. At that point, we do actually ask God for things, and we'll be talking about that later when we get to that point. I'm trying to think if I should do that now. Maybe if I should do that right now to explain the reason that we ask God for things during the silent Amidah prayer. I'll save it for right now. We'll move back to that later, because I'd like to get more into the actual. So that's into an actual prayer, just to give us some tools for today. So basically, what happens now is that we spoke about the morning service structure and how it's actually a spiritual experience. But right now, I'd like to get straight into the essence of what we're doing, which is to be able to own a certain paragraph of davening. And the way to do that, I'm going to start off with the blessings before food. I'm actually going to go straight to the chase, so that when you say blessings before food, it's actually a prayer. It's actually a davening that you're doing before you eat food. And if you can own these meditations, if you can relate to them and they can become yours, I think that will make a profound impact upon your ability to daven and your ability to talk to God in general. If you can relate to God through food, you'll, in a tangible sense, I think you'll be able to relate to God also much easier through prayer, where it's far less tangible, it's far more abstract. Okay. So the notion of eating comes to us naturally. We know that we have to eat, but it's a biblical commandment to thank God after we eat. And you shall eat, and you shall be satisfied, and you shall thank God, your God, who provided you with all of this bounty. The concept of of grace after meals is a biblical commandment, where God tells us that he wants us to acknowledge the fact that he gave us this food. And that's what we say in benching, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hazan et haolam kulo b'tova. That's the grace after meals. We say that to thank God for the food that he has provided us with. The earliest notion of this was actually Abraham in the desert, when Abraham set himself up a tent in the middle of the desert. It was open on all four sides, and he would welcome any passing stranger, no matter how pagan or idol worshipping they were. He would welcome them in and provide them with food and drink and shelter and everything of their needs. As they were getting ready to leave, they would say to him, Abraham, we want to thank you for your wonderful hospitality. How can we repay your kindness? And he says, don't thank me. Thank the one who provided you with this bounty. And they said, we thought that you were the boss. Is there someone else we should be thanking? And he said, yes, actually there is. And he started teaching them about Hashem, about God, the master of the universe. These were pagans and idol worshippers. They had never heard of a notion of an invisible and almighty creator of the universe. And thus Abraham was able to educate them. If they were thanked God, he was happy, no problem. But if they didn't thank God, if out of principle they refused to thank God, he says, okay, if you don't want to thank God, then thank me. And my bill is $25,000. Some crazy exorbitant number he would give them. And it was through this manner that he really changed the way of the world. Abraham was probably the most influential human being who ever lived upon the face of this earth. Think about that. No other human being changed the way we think, the way more people were influenced by Abraham than by any other human being in the world. If you think about it today, you're 4,000 years later, and you still have all the Muslims, all the Christians, and all the Jews, all professing to be Abrahamic religions, which probably covers, 2.5, maybe 3 billion people. Half of the human beings in the world today, almost, are influenced by Abrahamic thought. And that's just today, 4,000 years later. I can't imagine anybody else having more influence than Abraham. And that all began by Abraham's tent. How Abraham would literally teach people one at a time about the presence of God, and it happened through food, through teaching them about paying gratitude to God. So I feel that if we're going to become more spiritual about our relationship with God, then that should also start through food. And the point I'm about to make is that the biblical commandment of thanking God for food is after eating. However, the rabbis rabbinically instituted a mitzvah, a rabbinical mitzvah, to praise God before we eat as well. So there's a short blessing you say before you eat, and there's a long blessing you say after you eat. And it's the short blessings before we eat that we're going to be addressing today as we start taking that on a very practical level, our spirituality and meditation through prayer, which is the prayers that we make before we eat. A comment from Brandon: how is the recitation of words that most people don't understand a spiritual experience? Tefillah is supposed to have kavana, which means intent. But how can you concentrate on what you don't understand? Brandon, I am 100% with you. I've been fighting with my spiritual advisors to allow me to institute English prayer in our shul. However, they won't allow it to happen. The rabbis are opposed. The Beth Din will not allow it for various reasons because of the template of prayer. They say, look, anybody who wants to pray in English, let them pray in English. You should pray in English. So my answer to you is, by all means, daven in English. You're not supposed to pray in a language that you don't understand. In fact, you're supposed to understand the words of prayer. You're supposed to understand the Shema. You have to understand the Shema. If you said the Shema and you didn't understand what it meant, you have not fulfilled your obligation. In the words of the genius Reb Chaim of Brisk, he says, Tefillah beloi kavana eina tefillah. Tefillah without proper kavana, without intent, without understanding what you're saying is nothing. You have not done anything if you've just mindlessly read the words of prayer in a foreign language. You have to understand what you're saying, Brandon. What we're doing in this course is allowing people to understand not only the spiritual context of davening and how we're supposed to approach davening, but also we're working on allowing people to appreciate the Hebrew intent. And you'll see in this lesson in a few moments, I'm going to explain to you how the Hebrew words are untranslatable. The depth that they carry, when you can understand the original Hebrew, it's going to blow your mind when you realize the profundity and the depth within the original Hebrew. So I'm starting this course with one-line prayers. The one-line prayers that you say before you eat bread. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Borei Puri Hagafen. These are blessings that we're all familiar with. We've said them a million times. We don't always really understand what they mean. We're sort of saying, like, thank you, God, for bread. Thank you, God, for wine. We don't really understand what we're talking about. But if I'm going to give you today the tools to be able to understand what they mean, then you'll be able to apply these tools to all the other times that these common words recur during davening. And suddenly, the lights will be turned on as you'll finally realize that there's tremendous depth to these words every time they are recited. Stephanie, I sing in English as my children bench. Good. Oh, you sing it in English. Great. Sing it in English. I'm glad that you understand it. That's great, but I'm excited to learn. That's great. You'll notice, Stephanie, right now, what I'm about to teach you is that the meaning of, I'm going to take one-line prayers right now, just one-line prayers, which are going to lead us into the first paragraph, which I want you to understand, which is the first paragraph of the benching after the food. You'll see. I'm going to give you tools. And in order to do this, I have to explain and remind you again that if this is the first time you're doing this class with me, if this is my third session of this course, I want to encourage you to look at the lesson 1 and lesson 2. They're posted on this Facebook Live feed on Chabad Palm Beach Gardens. You'll find it at facebook.com/Jewish Gardens. That's facebook.com/Jewish Gardens. The way we've set up this course, the way I've set up this course, it's a completely original creation, which is why I need your feedback all the time so that I know that I'm moving in the right direction. I've asked, my vision here is for you to create a Hebrew word diary. I want you to create a diary of Hebrew words that you develop throughout this course, and you'll constantly be going through them so that these words become 10 and 20 and 30 and more words that you are now intimately familiar, not only with their translation, but also with their deeper meaning. So in the lesson 1 and 2, we covered 2 Hebrew words. Just to remind you, they were tamid. Tamid means always or forever. It's a very common word, tamid, always or forever. And the second word that we came up with was the word da'at, D-A-A-T, or simply da, D-A. And this word da'at was, we explained not just the translation that it means realization, to realize something, but we actually explained the meditation behind the word. That da'at actually means making a wisdom, an idea, personal. Making it something which is yours, which you now own and personally feel. So da'at actually means not only when you understand an idea, that's the world of bina. Da'at means when you feel an idea. And that's the next level. We spoke about that. It's the 3 levels of Chabad. Chochma, Bina, Da'at. Chabad means wisdom, understanding, and realization, or idea, understanding, and realization. It is the 3 levels of a relationship with a piece of wisdom. You start off with an idea, Chochma, then you move to Bina, which is understanding or comprehension, until eventually you move down to Das, which is when you not only understand the idea, you actually feel the idea. You've made it personal. The way to do that is by ruminating over it, is by just thinking about it, by keeping it like a piece of meat marinating in the sauce. You just keep it submerged, your mind submerged in the idea submerged in your mind, and eventually you'll start to feel it. That's what happens. It's basically through prolonged meditation, which is nothing profound. It just means think about it. Just close your eyes and think about what you just learned. Think. Doesn't mean you have to levitate or gravitate or nothing else. Just close your eyes and think. And those are the 2 words that we've introduced so far. Good morning, Alina Davidov. Welcome to our class over here on Jewish spirituality and meditation. And that's why I want to encourage you to keep on your Hebrew word diary as we proceed. Okay. Now, when it comes to food, let's go straight into food, into our first prayer. Let's take a very famous prayer. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who takes the bread out of the ground. Wonderful. I think we can all understand the meaning. You certainly are familiar with that prayer, hopefully. Most Jews are familiar with that prayer. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We moved a little bit out of the synagogue right now. We're kind of into your personal space. When you eat bread, anytime you eat bread, you're supposed to say that blessing. Before you eat bread, the way you're supposed to do it is, you're supposed to take a cup, and you fill it up with water, and you pour once on your right hand, second time on your right hand, third time on your right hand, then you pour 1, 2, 3 on your left hand, and then you rub your hands together and you make the blessing, a different blessing. I don't want to confuse you. And when you dry your hands, you make the blessing, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min Haaretz. Someone says Amen, and then you eat the bread. Now, let's go deep into the spirituality and the meditation behind this blessing. So you could say this blessing in English. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has extracted the bread from the ground. Amen. Mazel tov. Enjoy your lunch. But let's take it deeper. The word Baruch means blessed. But it also means something so much deeper, something so much more profound, something that we can't translate. The word Baruch means to extend. I'm no farmer, but when you graft a piece of apple tree onto some other tree, if you graft a branch from one tree to another tree, I have no idea what I'm talking about. But apparently there's such a thing called grafting. And you can like literally take a branch and stick it onto another branch and you've extended the branch, okay? So whatever that is, I'll let the agriculturists and horticulturists to deal with, the botanists. But there is such a concept. We know that you can take a branch and stick it onto another branch. When you do that, you've extended the branch. The Torah term for this concept, for this behavior, is hamavrich. Hamavrich, one who extends. The core of this word is Beis Reish Chaf. Beis Reish Chaf. I'm going to show you this word if you don't read Hebrew yet, or if you need to polish up on your Hebrew. By the way, if you don't have it yet, I encourage you to get the app, the Hebrew reading app, which is RIIH, this one. Read it in Hebrew. That's the app. It's on the App Store and the Google Play Store, RIIH. Read it in Hebrew. And that app is, it has all the Hebrew letters. It will teach you the Hebrew letters. If you can't read yet, or if you need to brush up on your Hebrew reading, this is very good to get you brushed up on your Hebrew reading. Fine. So the first letter is a bet. Here it is, bet. Bet, which is, see the bet? Which means, I'm covering this up, I'm sorry. Which means when the bet has a button in its center, when it's got a butt in the middle, it's a bet. It's a bet sound, right? And then the second letter of this word is Reish. I'll get it for you in a second. And here's the Chaf. Okay. So the first letter we said is the bet, right? Sorry, that's the bet. Letter bet is the first letter. The second letter is the Reish. Now the Reish is rounded. Remember we learned the Daled the other day when it has a little dent in the back? When we learned the word Da, it had a little dent in the back. That was a Daled. Here, I'll show you the Daled. This is not to be confused. See, the Daled's got the little dent in the back. The Reish has no dent in the back. If it's got a dent, it's a Daled. If it's got no dent, if it's rounded, it's a Reish. Rounded is a Reish, right? And then the final letter is the Kaf. The Kaf, which is, it's got like a cough drop in the middle. That's the little sign we made. It's got a cough drop in the middle, right? Kaf has got a cough drop. So if you take these three letters, by the way, if this letter is at the end of a word, then some letters in the Hebrew alphabet change at the end of a word, just like in English. When you have every letter at the beginning of a word is a capital letter, right? Like there's a regular B and then there's a capital B. You have a regular D and then you have a capital D. So letters change when they're at the head of a word. So too in Hebrew, letters don't change at the Hebrew of the word, at the beginning of the word. In Hebrew, they change, only 5 letters change at the end of the word. So the kaf, this kaf here, when it's at the end of a word, it goes like this. So its leg kind of drops down and then it becomes a kaf. So in summary, this is what this word looks like. In summary, this is what the word looks like. Barech. See that? Beis Reish Kaf, or more specifically, where the final Chaf is Beis Reish Chaf. That's what the word looks like. Now, when you got this word, I want you to put this word in your Hebrew diary. To explain, the translation of the word Barech is to bless. But the extension, the concept of extension, is the meditation behind this word. Now remember, this course we're covering 3 levels. Number 1, we're covering the reading of the word, which is what we just did, how to read a word. Number 2, we're covering the translation of the word. And number 3, we're covering the meditation of the word. And that's what I'm about to explain to you right now. Brandon, does he bring forth bread, or that from which we make bread? Is this supposed to imply a partnership? Okay, I'm going to explain the meaning of what it means that he extends the bread. Let's talk about this. We don't say that he extends the bread. It says, Baruch Atah. Atah. So extended. Who is extended? What's being extended? The word is Baruch means, in English you translate it as just blessed. We're just saying blessed. God is blessed. You're a really nice guy, God, and you're blessed. That's what we're saying effectively. Right? The deeper meaning of this is so much deeper. Who is being extended? You can't translate this in English, and that's why davening in Hebrew is the classic. The word is atah. Baruch atah. Atah means you. And this is another word that I want you to include in your diary, because the moment you start getting comfortable with this diary, when you start getting good at your Hebrew word diary, it's going to be amazing, because what's going to happen is that you're going to find that you're suddenly familiar with a lot of words. You'll find yourself familiar with a lot of words. It's going to be great. All I need you to do right now is to follow with your Hebrew word diary. If you start keeping this Hebrew word diary and going through it, you'll suddenly start to see that a lot of these words recur. And every time they recur, I'll say, remember we learned that word? Go back to it, okay? So this next word is atah. Starts with an aleph. The aleph is silent. It has no sound of its own. Aleph. And then you got the taf. Sorry, the taf. This is the taf. It's got a toe sticking out. We did cover this word already when we did the word da'at. The second word of our Hebrew diary was da'at. And this is the last letter of it. So the taf has a toe sticking out of it. And then you've got the letter hey. The letter hey, it's got a broken foot. So you say, hey, your foot's broken. Hey, you got a broken foot, right? That's a little signal. See, he's got a broken foot. Hey, right? Or you could say, hey, it's a breath of fresh air. You got a little breath of fresh air over here, so he's not trapped. So either way, whichever way it works for you, you can say, hey, he's got a breath of fresh air, or hey, he's got a broken foot. Either way, this word is a very important word, very, very common word in the Hebrew language. Atah. See? That's your next word. A-T-A. Atah. And atah means you. In the feminine form, that's you means male. With a hey, it's the masculine form, you male. But if it's just aleph taf, then if it's just aleph taf, then it's at, which means you feminine. Now, we just got two words. Baruch atah. Extended are you. Extended are you. What are we talking about, folks? Any idea what this means? Good morning, Henny. Welcome to our class. Any idea what this means, that Baruch atah, extended are you? What are we talking about? And here comes this profound meditation, which is probably going to keep us busy for the rest of this discussion. You see, in the next two words of the blessing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Those words, number 3 and number 4, Baruch atah Adonai, and then Elokeinu, is the two names of God, two of many, many names of God. Why does God have so many names? What's the significance? Like, why does God need so many names? Does he have like a lot of bank accounts? Is it like bankruptcy? Like, what's going on in here? Why does he need so many names? It seems suspicious. You know, somebody has a lot of names. You're like, hey, what's going on in here, right? God has a lot of names. Very, very interesting. And this is the meditation of the blessing. Baruch atah means extended are you. But what's being extended? The third word of the blessing is Ador. And the fourth word of the blessing is Elokeinu. These are two very, very different words. See if I can pull up a book over here to show you. Just give me a second. I'm going to get a prayer book. I'll be right back in a second. Okay, so if you have this prayer book, this is the blue prayer book, you can actually find this blessing on page you see where you can find it. It's right by the Grace After Meals, just before the Grace After Meals. Here, on page 86. So in this prayer book, if you have this prayer book, it's a really good book to have. If you don't have this prayer book, you can buy it from the shul office. Just call Ashley. She's in the office, 561-624-2223. That's 561-624-2223, this prayer book. And on page 86, you'll see over here blessings for various occasions. And you'll see the second blessing. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Now in the Hebrew, oops, I'm trying to work out this camera. In the Hebrew, you see, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu. So it doesn't actually say Ador, the name Adonai. But you're not supposed to say the name of God in vain, so it's going to be a little awkward for me when I say it. So instead of saying Ador, I'm going to say Adonai. Adonai and Elokeinu. Okay, because you got to change it a little bit so you're not saying the name of God in vain. So it doesn't actually say Adonai. It actually says a 4-letter name of God, which is Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, which is going to be the third word of our lesson today. The third word of our lesson today is the name of God, which is a total game changer in Jewish meditation and spirituality. You see, the name Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. Oh gosh, I should get the board. I'm gonna get the board. Hold on, folks. I'm gonna get I'm gonna put this on a board. Just don't go away. 1 second. Okay. I hope I still got you there, folks. What I'm about to do is explaining to you the meditation of the name of God. And it's going to be amazing because if you can connect with this idea, what's going to happen is it's going to change your whole perception of spirituality. It's going to be really beautiful. Take a look. So when you read the blessing, it's like this. Oh gosh. Dead. Okay, so it's Baruch. We say Baruch atah, right? Which means, I hope you can see that. Can you see that, folks? Baruch atah, which means, I'm going to write it over here. Blessed or extended you. Okay, I hope you can read that. Blessed or extended are you, right? Now, the next word is the name of God. The next word is the name of God. You see, there's a Yud, and there's a Hey, and there's a Vav, and there's a Hey. Right? You are not allowed to say this word in vain, not even in prayer. You can't say, this would be a translation of Jeho, and then those guys that call themselves the witnesses. You're not allowed to say that name. It is a violation of respect of God by saying the name of God. That word is an extraordinary name of God. It's not just a name. It means something, right? It starts off with a Hey. It's made up of 3 words. There's 3 key letters over here. The one is the Hey. The Hey we spoke about moments ago, which is the letter which has a broken leg. And they say, hey, you got a broken leg, or hey, you got a breath of fresh air through this little hole, this opening. That's the letter Hey. Another key letter here is the Yud. The Yod, which is the smallest letter, like the Jew, which is the smallest nation. It's a tiny letter. It's like a little dot. That's the Yod. And then the third letter key component here is the Vav, which is a very straight or very thin line. The Vav is very straight or very thin. It's a Vav, right? So these three letters actually make up three different words. Three different words in Hebrew. And they are as follows. Here. They are as follows. Can you see these three words over here? They spell these three words over here. Haya, Hoveh, and these three words over here, they spell Haya, Hoveh, and Yihiyeh, which means past, present, and future. In Hebrew, and this is the next word which I want you to include in your word diary, in your Hebrew word diary, is the word Haya. Haya, which means was. The word Haya is was. Haya means was, a very important word. And why does Haya mean was? The reason is because Vehu Haya, Vehu Hoveh, Vehu Yiyeh Betifara. We say that in Adon Olam. I see that Corey's about to start her Hebrew class in just a moment, so I'm out of time. But basically, I'm going to wrap it up over here by saying the following. Haya, Hoveh, and Yihiyeh means he was, he is, and he always will be. When you put these three words, past, present, and future, into one word, the word that comes out is the name of God that is ineffable. The word that is impronounceable, the word that is unrelatable. Can you imagine something which is in the past, in the present, and in the future, all at the same time? Is that even something which we can even fathom or relate to? It's an unthinkable concept. It's an unthinkable concept. So basically, the notion that God is one in the past, in the present, and in the future is a very powerful concept, and that is the name of God that we are referring to when we say the third word of the blessing before bread. Baruch Atah Adonai is really spelled Yud Kei Vav Kei. The meditation here is that we're talking about a God that is so incredibly great. He's so incredibly unrelatable. It's this God that's being extended down to this world through the blessing that we're making. Now, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow we have a Tanya class. We're doing Tanya tomorrow after the regular Souls on Fire Torah study. But right after that, we'll hopefully on Wednesday we'll carry on with this concept. But hopefully, to summarize today, we've learned three new words: Baruch, which means blessed or extended; Atah, which means you, and we did the feminine and masculine form of that; and then Haya, which means past or was; and Hoveh, which is present; and Yihiyeh, which is the future. Hopefully you've grasped all these five new words today, so that every time you see the word Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, you're able to think of God the way He is, removed from any a concept of time, the way He is past, present, and future. We'll be talking about much more about this notion about how God is able to be omniscient, how He knows everything even before it happens, and how we still have freedom of choice. We'll be talking about that in the next lesson, so don't go away. I encourage everybody to switch over to Corey's Hebrew reading class. It is on zoom.us. I'm not sure how to access it, but I do know. If you look at the Friday email that we sent out, over there's a link to Corey's Hebrew class, which is taking place right now. So folks, have a wonderful day, be safe, and stay away from the virus. God bless you. Please send me your questions or comments to rabbi@jewishgardens.com. That's rabbi@jewishgardens.com. Thank you for joining me here. We will continue tomorrow. Shalom.